Every morning outside the temple, hundreds of fresh flower garlands are strung by hand. It is a labor-intensive trade, and for those sitting on the pavement making them, it is the only barrier between daily survival and starvation. Jyoti is one of these vendors. She is young, but she carries the entire weight of her household. Following an accident that took her father and left her mother, Savitri, paralyzed, Jyoti's daily flower sales are their sole source of income. The temple complex is massive, anchored by a deep water tank where pilgrims toss coins. It is here that Jyoti spots a young boy leaning too far over the edge, losing his footing on the wet stone and violently slipping into the water. Without a second thought, Jyoti drops her work and dives in, pulling the thrashing boy back to the safety of the stone steps. The boy's parents rush over in a panic. Once the boy is safe, Jyoti simply wrings out her clothes, walks back to her spot, and resumes threading flowers. There is no parade, and she asks for no financial reward. She performed a genuinely heroic act. Yet, in the immediate aftermath, her reality remains the same. Good karma does not automatically pay the rent, and unfortunately, Jyoti currently remains trapped in a precarious cycle of poverty. Days later, a small text-filled booklet lands directly in Jyoti's flower basket. It is a Hanuman Chalisa, a 40-verse prayer, falling seemingly out of nowhere. A local sadhu identifies the event as a direct omen. He instructs Jyoti to treat the arrival of the text as a specific call to spiritual discipline. He introduces her to a practice called niyam. This is a strict 40-day vow of spiritual discipline. It requires a person to perform a specific action without a single break, forcing them to focus their mind and invite a shift in their life. For Jyoti, the parameter is absolute. She must sit before the deity and recite the prayer every single evening for 40 days. It does not matter if she is exhausted, sick, or grieving. The chain cannot break. Adopting the niyam incorporates a layer of rigid mental training into her existing physical survival strategy. Traditional folklore carries a specific warning about initiating a vow like this. The very moment you ask for intervention, your circumstances will often get significantly worse before they get better. Sure enough, her landlord arrives the very next morning. With rent overdue, he evicts Jyoti and her paralyzed mother, forcing them out onto the street. They relocate to a makeshift slum. Her daily routine now involves fighting for basic shelter, caring for her mother in far worse conditions, multiplying her physical exhaustion. The pressure to abandon the evening prayer is immense. When you are fighting for your next meal, sitting still to recite verses feels like a dangerous waste of time and energy. Despite the sudden homelessness and crushing fatigue, Jyoti refuses to skip a day. Every evening, she returns to the temple courtyard, clasps her hands, and completes her recitation. This chart maps her 40 days. The rising line represents compounding hardships. The straight line below tracks her unbroken vow. Notice day 40. Her peak external stress aligns exactly with completing the commitment, outlasting her absolute breaking point. The vow did not magically pay her rent. Instead, it functioned as a psychological anchor, forging a deep internal resilience exactly when she was most likely to give up. On the final day, Jyoti sits among the carved shrines in the daylight. She finishes the 40th recitation and makes a simple request: health for her mother and the means to finally attend school. She stands up to leave. At this exact moment, her history of physical action and her recent weeks of devotion collide in the physical world. Standing right behind her is the boy she pulled from the water weeks earlier, accompanied by his wealthy parents. They recognize the girl who saved their son's life. Stepping in to repay the debt, the parents offer to arrange top-tier medical care for Savitri and cover the full cost of Jyoti's education. This resolution is the delayed payout of her earlier intervention, occurring exactly at the conclusion of her 40-day commitment. This diagram illustrates the true mechanics of the event. We see two distinct pathways: the path of action, initiated by the physical rescue, and the path of faith, initiated by the vow. They start far apart, but ultimately converge at a single point. The physical act of saving the boy was always going to be the seed of her reward. The 40 days of discipline acted as a structural bridge, keeping her grounded and present at the temple long enough for the result of her past action to catch up to her. It echoes the lesson the sadhu offered on day 1. Fate tests a person's baseline resolve. Overcoming that test requires a combination of doing the right thing physically and maintaining the mental discipline to stay the course under pressure. By anchoring a past good deed with daily, unyielding discipline, a person can weather the worst of their circumstances and buy the time needed to actually change their destiny.